So thank you and good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I would like to thank IFPRI for their kind invitation and the opportunity to share a few words with you. I come from a research organization that is nearly 70 years old. So our anniversary will be next year. And we started as an agricultural research organization, but we have moved towards an organization that is dedicated to the food, agriculture, environment nexus, including also the interactions with health, energy, urbanization, so that I'm very sure that this is not only a question of marriage between food, or between nutrition and agriculture. This is definitely a mariage à trois with agriculture, food, environment, and many other topics. Somehow Mark Rosegrant has said most of everything that I could have said. I will try to illustrate my talk with an example. Of course, one of the major challenges that we are facing, that we have to address, is the capacitating people, regions, communities, and countries so that the 9.5 billion people can feed themselves in 2050 with nutritious, safe, diversified food in a context of global changes, including climate change. And this is a major challenge that could be only achieved sustainably if we play with different levels and simultaneously. There are levers on the demand side, for example, the food diets that have been mentioned today, the reduction of the food waste and losses. There are also levers on the supply side, reduction of the crop losses and the ecological intensification so as to increase the yields, as well as technologies that can help increase the yields. In addition, there is also the need to mobilize trade levers, because there are areas in the world that are, for long, surplus areas, for example, OECD, Latin America, former Soviet Union, and there are also areas, and this will be the example I will take, that are, for long, will be in deficit situation. Another point, another lever will be to share technologies and knowledge. Activating all these levers requires strong and consistent public policies, especially under climate change. I will come back to climate change later. I will illustrate this point with a recent study that we performed at INRA regarding an area of the world that was not mentioned today, which is namely Middle East and North Africa. Why this region? Because we have colleagues working in the Mediterranean area which tell us that this is a region which is a magnifying glass of world global food challenges, and clearly this is a region where food policy is indeed highly complex. This is a region of the world that heavily depends on imports of agriculture and food products. Food imports and dependence have been increasing over the last decades, and over the last 5 decades they have reached or increased from 10 to 15% up to 40% these years. Food imports are further expected to increase in the next decades as a result of demography, of course. There will be 50% more people in the next 35 years. As a result of urbanization, as a result of changes in diets, we always speak of the Mediterranean diet, but here also the diet is changing. And this in the context of scarcity of land, a scarcity of water resources available for agriculture. And in addition, this is a region which is highly sensitive to climate change and which has limited resources, land, water, which I already mentioned. So what did our study briefly tell us? That the net import dependency in agri-food products in this region should increase at the end of 2050 from 39%, which is the present situation, to 49% if we assume the trend scenario, but that could go up to more than 50% under climate change scenarios. And of course, there will be high variability in these regions. But if you look to Middle East, or if you look to Maghreb countries, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria, the dependency could go up to nearly 70%. We tried to simulate different scenarios to reduce this dependence, reduction in food losses and waste, limited changes in food diets, promoting technical progress that would further increase crop yields. The thing that clearly appeared is that only if we mobilize these three levers can we have something, an effect that is significant to reduce this dependency. But the primary target will be to combat and fight the adverse impacts of climate change, because this is the main danger in this area. I will not go more detail with that study, but I think this study clearly indicates in this region, but in other places in the world, the very plural and holistic nature of food security, and as a result, the interdependence of the public policies that affect it. I will list these policies. Well, first of all, I think the climate change is of critical importance. Of course, there will be the COP21 within 2 weeks in Paris, but it is clear that if we don't reach a good agreement there, most of the things that I said about the Middle East and the Mediterranean countries will be true and will happen. Second thing is that there are different policies that can be applied. Food and nutritional policies to change the food diets. This is not that easy. Agricultural and environmental policies, for example, towards ecological intensification. Policies that aim at reducing losses and waste. Policies for promoting and supporting research and innovation. In all, this points to the interdependence and the very systemic nature of the political issues that are dealing with food policy. And there are three main consequences, and I will stop with that. The necessity of ensuring the consistency of the sectoral public policies, different I've mentioned. The necessity to have a governance that is adapted to such systemic challenges. And also the need to organize research in such a way that it is able not only to provide new basic knowledge on biophysical processes, which we do in my organizations, not only to look at the socio-economic behaviors, which we also do in my organization, not only to develop and transfer new technologies, which we also do in my organization, but also to address the very systemic nature of food systems, which we try to do in my organization, but hence I feel the importance of international institutions such as IFPRI. And I congratulate IFPRI again for their 40th anniversary. Thank you.